I help if I unmute the microphone. Good morning, good afternoon, depending upon what time zone you're in. I'm George Urbick, Chief Forecaster here with Weather Now Kentucky. We do have an update for you regarding today's snowstorm for some folks. I want to make sure I'm live on every platform here because it seems like it's having trouble with the Facebook Live. Let's try that again. 1 second. Give me a second here, folks. We're only live on YouTube and X right now, so I'm trying to get the Facebook Live to come up there. See if we can't get that to that one. 1 second. I think we're good to go on Facebook now as well. That was weird. It didn't want to well, are we live on Facebook or not? It says we're live on the platform, but not on Facebook itself. Might just be a YouTube stream. There it goes. Wow. That was crazy. That doesn't usually happen. But anyway, good afternoon, good morning, depending upon where you're at. George Harvick, Chief Forecaster here with Weather Now Kentucky. We do have an update for you regarding winter storm, winter activity today throughout portions of Kentucky. I'm also going to update you a little bit about the cold weather that we're expecting here. It's not your typical cold weather for this time of year in Kentucky, but of course we are approaching the winter season. A lot of folks don't realize that we're still technically not in winter yet. So, and I know it's kind of weird. I wish they did it like the first of the month. I mean, I understand obviously, but I wish just to make things more simple, the seasons would change with the first of the month. But of course, it's got to be the 20th. So anyway, I'll wait for a few folks to get in here since we had some hiccups with getting out to the live there. But now we're live on Facebook, YouTube, and X. So if you guys would not mind, please tap the share button at the bottom portion of your screen. You guys hear me say that every broadcaster really does help us get more folks informed. And of course, it helps us grow as well. So thank you to everyone that's sharing and liking and commenting on the broadcast. Say hello as you're coming in. I'll say hello to a few folks while we're waiting for folks to get in here. Shadowfire, good morning. Good afternoon to you out there in London. Silver Surfer, good afternoon to you, my friend. The intro, you like the intro, Mason? How are you, my dude? Go Cards, Go Army, Matt says on YouTube. Oh yeah, I kind of forgot I was wearing my Louisville hoodie. I'm gonna piss some people off today. Look, I promise you guys, I'm not one of those obnoxious. I'm not like an obnoxious fan, you know. I know both sides have their obnoxious fans. I promise you, I try not to be that. I try to genuinely root for both teams. Now, obviously, when they play each other, I don't. But anyway, so we do have a anyway, back to what we're actually here for. I do have an update for you. There are some changes. Actually, I'm seeing some warnings updated on the radar as I'm talking to you here. Looks like they're upping their expectations for Northern Kentucky, which is to be expected, as we updated our expectations today as well. All right, let me get back to saying hello to some of you folks. Corey says L's down. That's, you know, you got to do what you got to do. Greg on YouTube, hello to you. Jessica, hello. If you are just now tuning in here, I promise you have not missed anything. I'm giving it like a minute or two just because some of the when I initially hit go live, for some reason the Facebook one stuttered. So we're just giving it a couple minutes for folks to get in here. So you have not missed anything. Just kind of settle on in. Yes, we have another snowy day. Guys, this is the 5th snowiest December for the city of Louisville, for example, and on record. It's kind of a little bit crazy here what we're going through. Dylan says I leave from Mexico and it snows 3 times while I'm gone. Yeah, you've missed some good snows up there. Gonna need your super suit. It's gonna be a Frozone. It's gonna be really, really cold here. Central Kentucky needs some snow. Fortunately, I don't have any good news for you here on this broadcast. While we're waiting, be a ranked team though. Yeah, I honestly thought, I'm not gonna lie, I honestly thought Indiana was still ranked. I didn't realize they fell out. Let's pull up our main screen here. Let's pull up our main screen here. By the way, the live camera is out of Elizabethtown, Kentucky, just because that's kind of defaulted to where it's at. All right, on your screen, we do have the pink winter storm warnings. I'm a little bit surprised, based on all the data that we're seeing, that we're not seeing that winter storm warning expanded down here to this row of counties in Kentucky. The NWS still thinks this is just a 1 to 2 inch event for places like Dry Ridge, Warsaw, Crittenden, Falmouth, Brooksville. I think it's more of a 3 to 5 inch event there. I'll show you our snowfall map. Of course, you guys know we always show you that stuff. We'll show you the model data. We'll show you everything here. But let's just get through the overview of kind of where we're at with things. The purple is your winter weather advisory. That was expanded slightly today to include Jefferson County once again. Um, I know before we even get started, anyone's gonna or there's gonna be questions about if this can be expanded some more. You know, I think we can see. Let me turn on. I wonder if they put any out for it yet. I have special weather statements turned off, but let's turn those on real quick and see if they have anything out for it. They don't. At the least, I expect that there will likely be a special weather statement or something kind of for this area. Um, and again, I don't think the winter weather advisory is going to be expanded any further unless we see a rapid shift. But right now, we're not. Um, again, here is the current radar that we're seeing, and if anything, it's actually a little bit more north than what a lot of the data showed. Um, and again, and you can kind of see that, right? So if I turn off the radar once more, you look at where the edge. So I'll zoom this out a little bit for you, just to kind of give you a little bit of insight here. I'll show you the northern edge of the winter weather advisory zone, if you will. And now I'll put back on the radar and you'll see that it's actually a little bit north. Here's the southern edge of it, right? And it's not really happening here. Now, of course, that doesn't really change our forecast too much, but it just goes to show you while we did see some crazy southern trends Thursday night and Friday, I don't see that happening this time. I feel really good about our forecast. But before we get into that, I want to show you the model data real quickly. Here is the model data, the newest one coming in here. Now, there are some other models too, like the ASTRO model, the rapid refresh model, that I just don't think are handling this very well at all. I think the one that actually has the best handle on this is the RDPS, which is the short range Canadian model. But I think it's also a little bit too aggressive. So we're going to go kind of with a model that's kind of in the middle of everything here. So it kind of gives you a good example of what's happening throughout portions of Kentucky throughout today. So advance this forward, get it valid for about right now. You'll see it does have some snow occurring in northern Kentucky, back out towards central Indiana. Obviously, there's a little bit more snow actually occurring than what this model is showing at this current time. Advance this forward about 2 to 3 p.m. The model is trying to show that snow line will initially lift to the north. We are seeing some indications of that. So again, if I kind of put this into motion here for you and just kind of show you, you'll see it was snowing down here, getting close to Lexington about an hour ago. And if I go forward to now, it did sort of lift north a little bit. So it will probably wiggle north a little bit and then come back to the south. It's a weird little line that we're dealing with here. Advances forward about 4 to 5 p.m. The line eventually starts to seep back to the south, now including northern Kentucky once again. And then by about 6 to 7 p.m., you'll see that snow line is kind of stalled there, and you'll quickly understand why northern Kentucky towards Cincinnati, Ohio, and so on and so forth is our prime target zone in Kentucky for the biggest impacts expected. But advancing this forward, you'll see that the lines try to connect. So this is kind of interesting because this is kind of the first time, really, that the short range models have been seeing these two lines try to connect. So there's a little bit of rain activity happening to our south. That's where the better moisture is, and it's trying to lift north at the same time. The cold front with the Arctic air that we've all been talking about for a few days here is trying to really push south, and it will eventually win out. But this is the first time the model has tried to show kind of a little bit of a phasing of the two different lines together. I will tell you, if you looked at the post we just made a little bit ago, I will tell you that if these were to have phased 3 or 4 hours ago to our west, this would have been a major winter storm for almost all of Kentucky, at least the northern half of it. For northwestern, north central, northeastern, eastern Kentucky, this would have been a major winter storm. And this is kind of what the models did show 2 or 3 days ago before eventually going more toward just a clipper type of system. So it's kind of interesting to show that if these two lines can magically connect over the next 5, 6, 7 hours, then yeah, we may be talking about a little bit more snow in central Kentucky than originally expected, but I really would not bank on that because, again, sometimes the models can get a little bit overly aggressive on the moisture, and Arctic air is if you guys have ever been to Canada or Alaska or, God forbid, Antarctica, you know that cold air is a different type of cold air than we usually deal with here in Kentucky. It's very dry, it's very heavy, it's very hard to breathe in. It does not want moisture. So again, you have to be careful when you're hoping for those southern shifts and you're trying to look at it and be like, oh my God, it's shifting. You got to remember the Arctic air is going to try and kill some of that moisture out. Advances forward about 9 to 10. It does show some decent snowfalls now occurring toward Lexington, getting out toward Louisa, Kentucky, Ashland, all in between there. Pikeville's kind of getting close there. I do think this will come a little bit more south at this point tonight, so about 9 to 11 p.m., than what the models are showing. That's just my gut feeling on that. I have no evidence to back it up, of course, but I just have a gut feeling that there will be a little bit more snowfall out here than what the model is trying to show. Okay. Advances forward, it is trying to show a couple of heavier bands in there. But again, remember, a lot of that's going to be absorbed by the atmosphere before it actually hits the ground. So you'll actually see it snowing on your radar, most likely, before you ever see it snowing at the ground, because a lot of that for the first little bit has to be absorbed because a lot of you in Kentucky are pretty dry, especially in the upper layers of the atmosphere. Advances forward about 1 to 2 a.m. on Sunday. Most of that snow is now moved out of here. And then by 2 to 3 a.m. or so, Kentucky is done with the snow and probably done with the snow until January. So again, I just want to point that out. I do think this is our final snow, unless something drastically changes, which is absolutely possible. I do think this is our last snow event of any great concern until at least January. I think we really get warm, and I mean warm for December standards here very soon. I do want to show you what this model is trying to show for snowfall totals, just so you can have some context here. This model is again trying to show a widespread 4 to 7 inches for northern Kentucky, 1 to 3 inches basically along the I-64 corridor there, and then a dusting just to the south of that. Here is our, let me see if I still have it pulled up here. I don't know if I do or not. We're saved, I mean. Is this the newest one? Yes. This is our snowfall map that we made. I actually did not change the zones on this. The placement of the zones. This is the original snowfall map that we made yesterday. The only thing that I changed on it was the amounts for the top 2 zones, which I originally wanted to put these amounts on the first map anyway, but I had to wait and see kind of what our moisture content looked like for today, and just basically I had to wait for the trends to occur. Again, I'm a little bit surprised that there's not been a winter storm warning expanded a little bit further into Kentucky, because I really do think that places like Owenton, what is that? Oh, someone's taking out the garbage. Okay. Places like Owenton to Maysville, those places could probably see a solid 3 to 5 inches on the ground. But again, little subtle shifts are going to be really, really drastic with this. This is another type of event where there is a very dramatic cutoff of the snowfall. Now, I did go a little bit wider with my 1 to 3 inches than a lot of folks, because I think sometimes with these Arctic boundaries, again, we know they don't like moisture. So we know they are going to squeeze, once they get going, they are going to squeeze any bit of moisture out of there. So I think there may be some surprises like toward Richmond, Moorhead, Jackson, where you may end up with 1 to 2 inches of snowfall, whereas most people have you as a dusting to 1 inch. So that's kind of my feeling on that. And I did make the dusting to 1 inch zone a little bit wider than I would have actually liked to do, just in case there was a slight southern connection of the moisture that we just showed you a little bit ago. So I did that kind of just in case. But most of you in that dusting to 1 inch zone, just expect a dusting. Again, I don't think we're in for any real surprises like we saw on Thursday night into Friday. That one was a little bit of a different setup. It had a little bit more moisture with it than the models like to have indicated. This one barely has any moisture with it, but because it's so cold, the snowfall is so efficient. Again, we know that the Arctic air likes to squeeze the moisture out of the atmosphere, so it's a much more efficient snowfall. Less moisture with it, but it's much more efficient. So you can get more snow per drop of liquid if you think about it like that way. Okay, what else did I want to show you? Oh yes, the cold temperatures that are coming in here. So again, pull this back out to the 12Z run. We've talked about this a whole lot, so hopefully you guys are prepared. I can only beg you guys, if you guys have any outdoor animals, please find a spot inside for them tonight. Really don't want any animals getting hurt from tonight. Okay, so here's your highs throughout today. You can see most people in the low to mid 30s. Southern Kentucky, you're probably going to get up to the low to mid 40s, because again, we have that warm boundary trying to push in at the same time that the cold boundary is trying to push in. So kind of a little bit of a battle at first here. But advancing this forward, you'll see that cold air quickly wins out. And then by tomorrow morning, we see temperatures, and this is only having temperatures go down to the teens. I think we do go a little bit colder than this. This model's trying to give the low or your temperature Sunday morning as like 12 degrees in Louisville, 13 in E-Town, 13 in Lexington, Paducah at 12 degrees. I think we absolutely go a little bit colder than this. Those are your temperatures for Wednesday or Sunday morning. These are real temperatures, by the way. The high on Sunday probably not going to leave the teens for many of you. And then by Sunday night, again, we get colder once again for Monday morning. into the single digits, so on and so forth. Here are your wind chills. Let me show you your wind chills now. These are what it's going to feel like outside. So not just the temperature, but what it's going to feel like outside. And again, it only has it getting about -1, -2. I do think we get closer to -6, -7 degrees for a lot of you. So again, very cold. Frostbite in those conditions does set in within 30 to 40 minutes or so for Sunday morning. So please make sure you're covered. Please make sure you're limiting your time outdoors. This is why it's very important to bring pets inside as well. Yes, they do have fur, but they are still prone to having cold injuries and so on and so forth. So please make sure you are staying indoors. And this is a hazardous level of cold because, again, frostbite, hypothermia, so on and so forth. So advance this forward. Here is Sunday's high for wind chills, I guess if you want to call it that. 6 degrees, 7 degrees in Louisville. Again, I think it's a little bit colder than what this is actually showing. And then here it is for Monday morning when those kids go to school. So you may see some schools delay on Monday. I'm not sure exactly what the rules are for wind chills and so on and so forth. But I don't know if each school district has something different, but I do know that there are some closures and delays that are going to be possible Monday morning because the wind chills don't really get above into the positives until about 9 to 10 a.m. or so. So I think you're going to see a lot of 2-hour delays and maybe even a few closures for some of those folks in northern Kentucky, mainly because of the snow there. Because again, our temperatures are going to be dropping down. So a lot of the snow that you do see tonight, even if it's less than what you saw on Thursday night and Friday, it's going to stick around a lot better because the temperatures are dropping down into the single digits. So salt and brine and chemicals that they put on the road at that point tends to be a lot less effective once you drop below about 13 degrees. And again, a lot of you will. So whatever snow you do see today, tonight, will absolutely stick around until at least Monday afternoon for a lot of you folks, especially in northern Kentucky. So I want to pull back up the radar again, answer some of your questions. But before I do that, I want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors. Creature Comfort Inn. You can save 10% on your pet's first stay at Creature Comfort Inn using code WNK. Thank you to them for sponsoring us. Outer Loop location for Once Upon a Child in Louisville and Once Upon a Child in E-Town. They are asking for your spring clothes, so you can go sell your spring clothes, get some store credit, buy some, or you can get money outright. But I would get some store credit and cash in on some cheaper gifts for your friends and family this Christmas. Same thing with Plato's Closet in Elizabethtown. Make sure you're going to shopping for them with them to get some nice Christmas gifts on some clearance, guys. You can save a lot of money. And Brina and I shop there all the time. So look, it's a good setup that they have at Plato's Closet and Once Upon a Child in E-Town. If you need a new roof before the spring, you don't want to do it after a storm has already hit. You want to do it beforehand. Hyper Roofing in Hardin County, Kentucky has one of the only GAF material warranties out there. Make sure you go check them out. And if you're in or around Hardin County, you cannot go wrong with those folks. And finally, of course, guys, Right Implement, our longest standing sponsor. They have a raffle going on right now, which is pretty crazy. They have all kinds of deals going on all the time. Make sure you go follow them, Right Implement, on Facebook. Again, I could go on and on about all the deals they have, but I would be here for a while. Just make sure you go follow them and check them out for yourself, especially if you do a lot of things outdoors or on farms or at your home. All right, let's go ahead and get into some of these questions now. With the warm front coming in and it being extreme low temps, could this cause storms, tornadoes? Absolutely not. No, we do not have any energy like that available. Are we getting a flash freeze? So yes, Megan, anything that's on the ground, wet, snow, damp, anything liquid that's on the ground, once we drop below 25 degrees, which everyone in Kentucky will at some point tonight or early Sunday morning, anything that's on the ground will absolutely flash freeze almost immediately. Christy, if you're talking about the maps that we were showing, a lot of those maps have been posted on our page. You can click and zoom in there, or you can turn your phone sideways and you can actually zoom in on your phone while we're live as well. Noah isn't matching your hype, but they aren't asking for Venmo donations either. Tim, what are you talking about, dude? Yeah, the NWS also waited to issue a winter storm warning for Louisville until they already have 3 or 4 inches on the ground. I mean, what are we doing here? Who cares? Just joining, what's Louisville looking like? Again, I think it's relatively light, about 1 inch, maybe 2 inches. When is it supposed to start in Frankfurt? I do have a graphic for that. Let me go ahead and pull it up. I probably should have already had that up as well. Jennifer, thank you for becoming a member on YouTube. I appreciate that so much. Thank you. Here is the timing graphic, which, by the way, it's already kind of snowing up there in that 12 to 3 p.m. Eastern time zone up, or time frame up there in northern Kentucky. 3 to 6 p.m. is about the time that these snows arrive for the middle zone there, 5 to 8 p.m. for the lower zone. And again, this is the time that we expect the snows to arrive. John says, go Cards. I appreciate you, dude. I honestly forgot that I had the Louisville hoodie on. Maybe that's why that guy was so mad. I know, Kelsey. Kelsey says I've actually seen the opposite. Most are predicting the same thing. I know we're right. Matter of fact, if you look at our map, so this is the funny part about what Tim said. If you look at our snowfall map, right? Here are the three highest zones, right? Lexington, Richmond, Moorhead, Jackson, Pikeville, Louisville, Maysville, Owens, and Florence. Look at where the advisories and warnings are set up. Jackson, Lexington, Louisville, Owenton, going up there, Pikeville. It's the same thing. Like, what? And no one's asking for any donations, by the way. I put that in there because we get messages about it all the time. I want to make that very clear. For some reason, that's been going around a lot, that I've been begging for donations. I mean, I don't know if anyone actually watches the broadcast, but you guys know I don't beg for anything. I have those in there for people that want to. So that way I don't have to actually answer it and make other people feel forced to. Weirdos out there, man. Yeah, Billy, when you're right on a line like that, guys, if you ever find yourself right on a line on an accumulation map, whether it's ours or anyone else's, I always recommend to take the average of the two lines. Any possibility that the system shifts southwest like the last one? There is a possibility of some subtle shifting, like very small, but as far as drastic as it was last time for Thursday night, absolutely not. No. No, I'm talking about Maysville in eastern Kentucky. Is there a Maysville? Are you thinking of Madisonville out in western Kentucky? Because Maysville is out here in eastern Kentucky, and then there's a Madisonville in western Kentucky, but I'm talking about the Maysville up in the northeastern corner. Angela, good afternoon to you. I appreciate you, James. It's over. Go bald. Listen, I shave my head about once a month. It's almost time to shave it again. Trust me. I already know that. I already know that. Any chance we will get more than expected? If you're in northern Kentucky, maybe. But for the other zones, I feel very confident. I feel very confident in this forecast overall. Sarah, maybe 1 to 2 inches or so. Julie's asking about any road concerns with the E-Town today, or will we not see much? Definitely going to see a potential dusting tonight. And again, because the temperatures are going to be so brutally cold, you may see a few slick spots. But when it comes to any like big snowfalls and major concerns, not at this time, but I will let you know if that changes. Clayton, good afternoon to you, my friend. Sarah, hello. Thank you very much. Whereas Evansville, we do not cover Indiana, my friend. But if you're looking for Evansville, you can kind of look toward Owensboro and kind of get the idea that there's not really anything expected there. Here is the radar once again. Pull this up here for you. And again, I just want to point out that we are expecting this to kind of turn a little bit more right now. Everything's kind of heading this way. But eventually, we do expect that this kind of maybe right in here will eventually kind of just drop into this area. So this portion back out here towards central Illinois is kind of where we're expecting this portion of the winter weather advisory to get their snow from. Ashlyn, I really doubt Cave City gets any real snow tonight. Casey, maybe a dusting to 1 to 2 inches if you're lucky. Carter County's just looking at dusting or maybe more. How will roads look from E-Town to Radcliffe? Again, I think it's mainly a dusting to about 1 inch or so. So most roads should be fine. But again, you're talking about brutally cold temperatures. So anything that does fall will stick very efficiently. Christine, I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Nikki, hello to you, my friend. Thank you all the likes and shares and comments. I do appreciate that very much, guys. All right. Last snow for a while? I do think so. I think we really warm up after this. Matter of fact, highs for the middle of next week should get into the 50s or 60s for a lot of folks. And then it kind of just continues. I think we're looking at more of a thunderstorm threat for the rest of the month, not necessarily a snow threat. Now, of course, that can change. We're still only on December 13th here. But I don't, as far as a threat like this, we're talking about back to back winter storms happening in Kentucky. I don't see anything like that happening until at least probably the second to third week in January. Clayton, not much, my friend. Maybe dusting if you're lucky there. Mighty Space, hello to you. Judy, I am in Hardin County, Kentucky, so right in the middle of the state. Stan, I appreciate that so much, and I do not expect a thing out there in Western Kentucky. Maddox probably got some slippery conditions for a commute like that from Clark County to Nicholasville. But again, you're a little bit south of where the actual main zone's probably going to be, so maybe a dusting to an inch there if you're lucky. No white Christmas. Yeah, I really do not have any faith in a white Christmas occurring. All right, that's going to do it for us here. I appreciate you guys so much for hanging out with me and asking all your questions. If you need any more forecasting information, you can watch this video on playback once it gets done processing, or you can go to our pages, on Twitter, Facebook, and look at all the information that we've already posted there. It's pretty much the same thing we already covered in this broadcast. So thank you so much for hanging out with me. Until next time, stay safe, folks.